From the kitchen of the cabin and around the world, this is Voices from the Solitude, a podcast about the coronavirus and gaming. Today, I'm talking to Nick Smith from Ludoquist again to see how he's coped during the lockdown. So I'm here again with Nick Smith from the Ludoquist. And so firstly, things are gradually relaxing in Britain. How has the last sort of 2.5-3 months been for you and the business?
It's a very strange situation where we're essentially trying to reinvent the business each day almost, but certainly each week. Yes, we've been having to reinvent the business each day, each week, and we're doing it with, honestly, the guidance from government is broad, to say the least. So we've kind of had to rely on actually talking to people who know what they're talking about, more than simply going from government guidelines. We've opened up as a cafe. We are doing takeaway food and drink. We've got an off license now, so we're allowed to sell beer. We're selling lovely local craft breweries. That is turning over something, so at least something is going on. As lockdown has begun to ease, we're selling less games. We actually sold quite a lot of games, particularly with local delivery, over the past 2 months, more than we had been prior to this. And I've talked to a few other game shops, and I think actually a lot of board games have been sold in the last 2 months, which has helped people. We are now currently prepping to be open on the 15th of June as a shop. We're putting in place a one-way system, and various other measures. We're quite a big space, so we've got space to do that. We have a side door, so we can sort of funnel people through, which is very helpful for keeping people 2 meters apart. And then we sort of expect that more or less around the 15th of June, the government is going to give us instructions about opening pubs, bars, cafes. I think as I sit here on Friday the 29th of May, it looks to me like the government is opening things too quickly, given the data that we have in terms of number of infections every day. And the other aspect of things is I think the government is chasing what the British people are doing, because they're now telling us we can have 6 people together in a park or a garden. And honestly, I think that's what many, many people have been doing already. I don't see any great leadership, and I certainly don't see any great leadership based on science. And I think, honestly, we will probably have a second wave at some point. So I do worry a lot that we will need to shut down again. When we open as a bar, we're expecting to be told that there's a 2-meter requirement, and that cuts our capacity to close to nothing. It will be tiny. We aren't receiving government support. We got a big loan from the government, which is great. That's more or less gone on rent, or will have done by the middle of June. And we are not seeing any current sign of government support or anything specific to the sector. The restaurant, pub, bar, cafe trade has not had any specific support. Our expectation is that we will be shut down longer and harder. That's across the industry. Across the hospitality industry, we expect that. and in London in particular, where most businesses' rates mean that we got no government grant at all. I think an awful lot of independents are simply not going to reopen. It's going to be very difficult. That's how it's been.
And so you see, yes. So a couple of questions, really. So, firstly, you said you sold more games. Do you think that's down to the desire of people to buy more games, or do you think that was a show of sort of support and solidarity towards you as a business?
I think a bit of both. I'm absolutely sure we have had a lot of love expressed towards us. We've had people buying gift cards in the amount of hundreds of pounds, and our gift cards were set up so you could only use them in the cafe. So they were gift cards bought honestly purely to support us without any particular we may not open again. The guys don't know that. And then some people have bought 20 quid's worth of gift card as a birthday present for someone, which is also a support. But so a lot of it has been support. Equally, a lot of it has been people playing games more. We've sold a lot of sort of solo and two-player games, things like Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions and cooperative games. Sold a lot of those. We finally managed to get some jigsaws in, and they're flying straight out the door again. So it is a combination of the two, I think.
And you said that you took a loan from the government. What are the conditions on that? When does it have to be paid back, and what kind of levels of interest? So
the government loan is very generous. It is up to 25% of your turnover, up to a maximum of £50,000. That's about 10% of our turnover. And there is no interest on it for a year, and then it's 2.5% interest thereafter, and we have to pay it back over 6 years. So that is, I absolutely cannot fault the government for that. And when ours happened, it happened very quickly. It took about a week to get to us from logging onto the website. That was excellent. Unfortunately, and I think this will apply to many licensed premises to some extent, but it's certainly the case in the southeast and in London. By the time we come out of lockdown, we will have had to pay 2 quarters rent, and that money is essentially gone. Because there's no support. In fairness to them, there is no support for the commercial landlords. They have not received any government help, and they have mortgages and stuff. And most of them are not being helpful. Again, I believe that there's some regional variation in this. I've heard some people in places where property is frankly less expensive, where their landlords have been more flexible. But talking to the licensed trade in and around us, no one's getting any flexibility there.
And so let's look at 2 scenarios then. So let's look at a best case scenario in that, there isn't a second wave and we have tentative steps of coming out, and say by the autumn, sort of things are as close as can be back to normal. How long will it take you to sort of pay off the debts you've incurred during this period?
That, I'm afraid, depends very much on what back to normal means. If in September we are literally able to open at full capacity, then probably 9 months, something like that, somewhere between 6 months and a year, and that's fine. If I have to suck in my gut for 6 to 9 months, that's that's price doing business sometimes. I think that is a very optimistic scenario. The idea that in September we're back to absolutely as normal is very optimistic. I think it is likely at best that in September we are open and able to function at a much lower capacity. Now there may be. I wonder slightly if the social week is going to get reconstructed, because if everybody wants to go out on Friday and Saturday night, there simply will not be space with any form of social distancing for the pubs and restaurants and clubs to manage that. It will not be possible. We think we will probably have to do a fairly strict reservations only basis. And the hope is that spreads the weekend out so that people are coming out on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, as well as, or instead of going at the weekend. That's the hope. The alternative is that some places just don't care and pack people in and they make a lot of money, and the ones who do it right are going to be in trouble. We will have to see how strictly it's controlled, and what the guidelines are.
And of course, there's a second scenario that you've already mentioned, there being a possibility of a second wave and lockdown measures being reintroduced. What is the scenario for you in that case? Does a second lockdown wipe you out, essentially?
I think, that at that point it becomes an absolute question of state support. If a second lockdown hits us, then and there is no further state help, then yes, I think my sector in my region anyway gets wiped out. It is the case that if you have £50,000 of government loan in let's say the outskirts of Durham, then you're going to be able to pay rent longer than if you are in London. I absolutely, for lots and lots of reasons, hope I'm completely wrong about the possibility of a second wave. That would, that would be economic Armageddon for a lot of us if the state doesn't intervene, probably even more heavily than it already has.
Well, hopefully, Nick, that won't be the case, and hopefully people will abide by the rules, and hopefully we'll all sort of pull through together. And, who knows, maybe you could diversify into opticians, because they seem to be immune from government laws at the moment.
Certainly opticians around Durham. Yes. I think, look, I think at this point, nothing that applies to society generally doesn't apply to us as a board game cafe. If it goes well, if it all goes well for the country / world, but let's go with the country, then we stand a very good fighting chance, and that's going to apply to a lot of shops and a lot of pubs and a lot of restaurants. The longer we have to be closed down, the harder it is. It costs me, I'm slightly top of the head figure, £10,000 a month to not open. In terms of some salaries that I can't furlough, in terms of insurance, in terms of some energy costs, and in terms of rent. And doing that for 2 months, 3 months, that's achievable. Doing it for 6, 9, 18, I can't afford that. It's going to be difficult. I think in terms, because I think of myself more as a hospitality business that happens to sell games with a games USP than as a game shop that happens to sell coffee. I think more broadly, I think a lot of the game shops have seen very good sales of product over the last few months, but the challenge for them will be organised play, which is more or less impossible. You cannot have 100 Magic the Gathering players moving from table to table and keeping a 2-meter distance. That's not going to happen. And organised play of that sort was such a huge part of a lot of the trade. Everyone who is semi-dependent on that they're all really hurting, or they will be.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, Nick, I wish you all the best, and thank you again for coming on the show a second time.
Well, I wish I were more positive. I think I am aware I have not been very very upbeat. And look, I will be absolutely delighted to come back in 2 months for you to say to me, well, you're dead wrong about all that, because it's all under control and we're all settled and we're all opening up again. That would be wonderful. And I certainly hope that that's what happens, and that's what we have to work towards. And nice talking to you.
And just before you go, if people want to come and visit, get a takeaway coffee and buy an Alchemara HCG pack, where should they be going?
So currently, until 15th of June, you're only allowed to pick up a game from us if you bought it from our website, which is www.theludoquist.com. And we are open for coffee and craft beers and lovely pasties and sausage rolls from 7 o'clock in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. And it would be lovely to see people when appropriate and safe.
If you want to support content like this, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and if you can, stay at home.